Dr. Amanda Brooks stood at the edge of Central Park, her breath forming small clouds in the crisp November air as she watched the Confederation ships descend through New York's skyline. Their crystalline vessels caught the morning sun, fracturing light into rainbow patterns across the city's facades. Behind her, thousands of spectators pressed against the security barriers, their excited chatter a sharp contrast to her quiet contemplation. Quite the spectacle, isn't it? Dr. Marcus Wheeler, her former professor from Stanford, appeared beside her. The Zitexthulians certainly know how to make an entrance. Amanda adjusted her diplomatic badge, a slight smile playing at her corners of her mouth. You'd think after visiting 37 civilizations, they'd tone down the theatrics. The lead vessel, a massive structure resembling a geometric snowflake, settled onto the cleared area of the Great Lawn. As its landing legs touched down, the crystal-like surface shifted from transparent to opaque, a display of technology meant to impress. Amanda couldn't help but think of the fragments in her laboratory back in Montana, pieces of ancient tech that could do the same thing, gathering dust in museums because nobody had figured out how to activate them. The Confederation's delegation emerged in what was clearly meant to be a choreographed procession. The Zexthulians led the way, their crystalline bodies refracting light like living prisms. Behind them came representatives from a dozen other species, the insectoid Freck, the gaseous haloforms contained in their environment suits, and others Amanda had only seen in the preliminary briefing packets. Ambassador Zixtal, the Confederation's chief diplomat, approached the Human Welcoming Committee. His translator crystal pulsed with soft blue light as he spoke. "Greetings, children of Earth. We come bearing the gifts of knowledge and fellowship." Amanda bit her tongue to keep from laughing. The patronizing tone was exactly what she'd expected after reading the Confederation's initial messages. They viewed humanity as technological toddlers who'd gotten lucky with a few innovations. The Secretary General stepped forward to respond, but Amanda's attention was drawn to something else. One of the Zexthulian aides was carrying what they'd termed a historical codex, supposedly one of their most ancient artifacts. Its spiral design and metallic sheen were identical to a piece she'd excavated near the Gobi Desert last year. Dr. Brooks. A touch on her elbow brought her attention back to the ceremony. Dr. Wheeler gestured toward the approaching delegation. They'd like to meet the human scientific team. The next hour passed in a blur of introductions and diplomatic niceties. Amanda maintained her professional demeanor, even as the alien scientists peppered her with questions that felt more like a parent quizzing a child than a scholarly exchange. "Remarkable," said Zixtal, examining the tablet displaying Earth's technological timeline. "To achieve quantum computing so quickly after discovering basic electronics. You must have had, what is your phrase? Ah yes, a lucky break." "Something like that," Amanda replied, sharing a knowing look with Dr. Wheeler. Neither mentioned the quantum processor designs they'd found carved into temple walls in Peru, dated to over 5,000 years ago. The delegation moved to the American Museum of Natural History for the evening's reception. Amanda watched as the aliens examined the human artifacts on display, their dismissive gestures and whispered comments making their opinions clear. Humanity was primitive, barely worth admitting to their grand confederation. Later, as she sipped champagne near a display of ancient astronomical charts, Ambassador Zixtal approached her again. "Dr. Brooks, we look forward to sharing our knowledge with your species. Perhaps in a few centuries, humans will be ready to truly join galactic society." Amanda smiled, thinking of the sealed vault beneath her Montana laboratory, filled with technology that would make the Confederation's gifts look like children's toys. "We look forward to learning from you, Ambassador. Humanity has always been eager to rediscover new things." The ambassador missed her careful wording, but Dr. Wheeler caught it, raising an eyebrow. Amanda just smiled and turned to watch the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. Let the Confederation think what they wanted. Humanity had played the long game before. They could do it again. The Martian dust storm had finally cleared, revealing the massive excavation site sprawling across Acidalia planitia. Amanda stood at the edge of the dig, her environment suit's heads-up display highlighting the geometric patterns that had drawn her team here. Behind her, the Confederation archaeological vessel loomed like a crystalline mountain against the rust-colored sky. Fascinating architecture, chittered Krex, her Vrek associate. The insectoid archaeologist's antennae twitched as he studied the exposed walls. Though primitive compared to early Confederation settlements, Amanda kept her expression neutral behind her faceplate. Primitive wasn't the word she used for walls that had survived tens of millions of years of Martian storms without a scratch. Dr. Brooks. The call came from Jessica Torres, her graduate student. We found something in Chamber 3. The chamber's entrance had been hidden behind what appeared to be a natural rock formation until that morning's excavation. Amanda ducked through the doorway, her suit lights illuminating walls covered in familiar patterns she'd seen in Utah's 9 Mile Canyon. Impossible, muttered Zilvax, the Zixisthulian head of the Confederation science team. These symbols share elements with multiple species' early writing systems. Maybe they all share a common source, Amanda suggested innocently, watching the crystalline alien's reaction. Zilvax's surface flickered with patterns that her xenobiology training suggested indicated distress. Jessica called them deeper into the chamber. The beam from her suit light played across a far wall, revealing what had excited her. A child's drawing, crude but unmistakable, showing Earth as seen from space. Blue oceans, green and brown continents, white polar caps. A coincidence, Zilvax declared quickly. Young species often draw circular representations off. The continents are correct, Amanda interrupted. That's Earth's layout from approximately 300 million years ago. During the Pangaea period, the chamber fell silent. Even Krex's constant antennae movements stilled. That's impossible, Zilvax said. No species had achieved spaceflight at that time. Even the eldest Confederation races were still primitive. Amanda's tablet chimed. A message from Dr. James Miller, her colleague leading a parallel dig on a distant Confederation world. The image he'd sent matched what they were seeing. The same artistic style, the same materials, the same impossible age. There's more, Jessica called out, her voice trembling with excitement. She'd moved to a sealed door at the chamber's rear. Unlike the primitive appearance of the child's drawing, this door featured sophisticated geometric patterns that pulsed faintly under their lights. Stand back, Zilvax ordered. We'll need specialized equipment to. Amanda stepped forward and pressed her palm against the center pattern. Ancient memories passed down through her family had suggested this might work. The door recognized her DNA signature and slid open with a soft hiss of preserved atmosphere. How did you? Krex began, but fell silent as their lights revealed the chamber's contents. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing star charts Amanda recognized from her grandfather's secret collection. But these weren't the crude maps she'd grown up studying. These were sophisticated three-dimensional representations showing stellar life cycles, galaxy formation, and, are those stellar engineering projects? Jessica whispered in awe. Impossible, Zilvax said again, but with less conviction. These symbols, they appear in our most ancient texts. We thought they were the work of the predecessors. Amanda's tablet chimed again. More messages from colleagues across space. Similar chambers, similar discoveries, all responding to human DNA. The pieces were falling into place, just as her grandfather had predicted. Perhaps, Amanda said carefully, watching the star charts dance above them, we should consider that our assumptions about galactic history might need revision. The Confederation Council must be informed, Zilvax declared, turning to leave. This site needs to be quarantined, studied properly. Of course, Amanda agreed smoothly. But as the aliens filed out, she caught Jessica's eye and held up 3 fingers, their pre-arranged signal. Within 3 hours, copies of all this data would be transmitted to secure locations across Earth. The truth was emerging faster than expected. Amanda touched the ancient wall one last time before leaving, feeling the slight warmth of active technology beneath its surface. Humanity's long-forgotten past was finally awakening. Dr. Michael Reynolds paced his underground lab in Austin, running his fingers through his disheveled gray hair. 3 holographic displays surrounded his workstation, each showing impossibly similar DNA sequences from different species. Amanda stood in the doorway, watching her old friend wrestle with evidence that threatened to upend everything the Confederation believed about evolution. "This isn't just similar genetic code, Amanda," Michael said, his Texas drawl more pronounced with excitement. "This is engineered perfection. Look at these markers." He gestured at a spinning double helix. "Every spacefaring species we've tested has these same base patterns, just remixed. Like children inheriting their parents' genes," Amanda suggested, moving to examine the display. "More like someone wrote the same signature in different languages." He pulled up another sequence. "Here's the kicker. Human DNA doesn't just share these patterns. It contains all of them, plus structural elements we don't see anywhere else. We're not just related to these species, we're their template." A soft chime announced another visitor. Dr. Lickstree, a young Zixthulian scientist, entered the lab. Unlike her crystalline elders, she'd shown genuine curiosity about human research methods. "Dr. Reynolds, I've completed the analysis you requested." Her surface rippled with colors suggesting excitement. "The genetic similarities between species cannot be explained by convergent evolution. The statistical probability is 0. Michael finished, "because it wasn't evolution at all." Amanda's tablet buzzed. A message from Jessica. The Confederation Science Council was convening an emergency session. Their Mars discoveries had caused more waves than expected. "Show her," Amanda told Michael. He nodded, pulling up his latest finding. "This," he highlighted a complex sequence, "appears in every sample we've tested. In other species, it's dormant. In humans, it's not only active but shows signs of artificial optimization dating back millions of years." Lickstree's crystalline form flickered rapidly, the equivalent of human pupils dilating. "That's impossible. My people achieved spaceflight before humans even." "Did you?" Amanda asked quietly. "Or is that what your histories tell you?" Before Lickstree could respond, alarms blared through the facility. Security feeds showed Confederation forces approaching the lab's surface entrance. "Right on schedule," Michael muttered, activating the hidden control panel. "Good thing we planned for this." Amanda turned to Lickstree. "You have a choice to make. The Council's going to try to bury this discovery. They'll destroy the evidence and discredit anyone involved. You can leave now, maintain your standing, or help us understand the truth," Michael finished. Lickstree's surface twirled with conflicting patterns. "The markers in your DNA, they match designs in our most sacred texts. Patterns we thought were left by the gods themselves." "Not gods," Amanda said. "Just your creators, who, for some reason, chose to forget what they'd done." The security feeds showed Confederation forces breaching the upper levels. Michael activated the lab's backup systems, and hidden doors slid open in the walls. "The samples?" Amanda asked. "Already transmitted to our backup sites, along with everything we found on Mars." He grinned. "They can shut us down, but they can't erase what we've discovered." Lickstree's form had settled into a steady, determined pattern. "I want to help. My people deserve the truth, whatever it might be." The lab's lights flickered as security systems engaged above. Michael quickly transferred their latest findings to encrypted drives, while Amanda retrieved a sealed case from a hidden compartment. "My grandfather left me this," she said, opening it to reveal an ancient device. "Said it was for when the children come home asking questions." The device hummed to life, projecting a hologram of the galaxy. Scattered points of light pulsed in a steady pattern, locations of other hidden facilities. "Your people didn't just achieve spaceflight before us. Michael told Lickstree as they prepared to evacuate. You were designed to be peacekeepers, guardians for younger races. The patterns in your sacred texts, they're not just religious symbols, they're behavioral codes engineered into your DNA. Footsteps echoed from the upper corridor. Amanda activated the device's secondary function, and a hidden tunnel opened beneath them. Ready to learn who you really are? She asked Lickstree. The young Zixthulian surface rippled with determination. Lead the way, ancestor. Together, they descended into the tunnel as the lab above filled with Confederation forces, leaving behind enough evidence to ensure the truth couldn't be contained forever. The children of humanity were finally starting to ask the right questions. The Pacific Ocean churned beneath storm clouds as Amanda's research vessel, the Nautilus, fought through 20-foot swells. She stood on the bridge, her grandfather's worn leather journal open to a page of coordinates and cryptic notes about sleeping giants beneath the waves. You sure about this? Captain Jack Morrison asked, his weathered face illuminated by instrument panels. Because I'm pretty sure we're going to hit the edge of the Confederation blockade in about 20 minutes. They're looking for us in all the wrong places, Amanda replied, checking the encrypted message from Michael. He and Lickstree had made it to the backup facility in Colorado, but Confederation ships were now patrolling Earth's orbit. The ship's sonar pinged, and Dr. Lisa Cooper, their marine archaeologist, called from the science station. We've got something. It's huge, way bigger than any natural formation. Amanda joined her at the display. The sonar map revealed geometric patterns 2 miles below the surface, patterns that matched the designs from Mars. There, she pointed to a specific arrangement of shapes. That's our entry point. Entry point to what? Jack asked. The answer came with a sudden tremor that shook the entire ship. The ocean around them began to glow with deep blue bioluminescence, but Amanda knew it wasn't biological at all. Everyone hold on, she shouted as the sea itself seemed to part around them. A massive structure rose from the depths, water cascading from ancient surfaces that still gleamed like new. The Nautilus was caught in the rising motion, carefully cradled by invisible fields as the facility lifted them up. Sweet mother of, Jack whispered. The structure was a perfect pyramid, each face covered in the same symbols they'd found on Mars. But these weren't static. They flowed and shifted, responding to their presence. At its peak, an opening arised wide enough to admit their vessel. Take us in, Captain, Amanda said quietly, before the Confederation spots us. The Nautilus glided into a massive docking bay that could have held a dozen ships its size. As they touched down, the opening sealed above them, and the chamber drained with impossible speed. Atmosphere's breathable, Lisa reported, checking her instruments. And the temperature, it's adjusting to human optimal conditions. They disembarked into a facility that hummed with awakening power. Walls lit up as they passed, displaying star charts and diagrams that made the Mars archives look primitive by comparison. It recognizes us, Amanda said, watching symbols react to their presence, just like the Mars facility, but on a much larger scale. They reached a central chamber that took their breath away. A massive holographic display filled the space, showing the galaxy in perfect detail. But not as it was now. The star positions matched configurations from hundreds of millions of years ago. Look, Lisa pointed to highlighted sectors. Those are the homeworlds of every Confederation species. But the dates, this can't be right. It is, Amanda said, pulling out the device from her grandfather's case. It interfaced seamlessly with the chamber systems. This shows when each species was seeded, engineered, created. The display shifted, showing spacecraft designs that Amanda recognized from Confederation ancient artifacts. But here they were shown as blueprints, works in progress, each carefully tailored to specific species. We didn't just create them, she realized. We designed everything they would need, gave each species the tools they would require to reach the stars. A new hologram appeared, a message left by their ancestors. A woman in simple clothing stood before them, her expression grave. If you're seeing this, the children have finally begun asking questions. The genetic markers we left in their DNA have led them home. But before you reveal everything, you must understand why we chose to forget. Why we had to start over. The message was interrupted by alert signals. Above them, Confederation ships had detected the facility's energy signature. How long to download everything? Amanda asked. Hours, Lisa replied. There's too much data. Amanda smiled, remembering her grandfather's words. Sometimes the best hiding place is in plain sight. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the central console. Throughout the facility, transmission arrays activated. In every major city on Earth, in hidden receivers across the colonies, and even in Confederation space, the truth began broadcasting on channels that hadn't been used in millions of years. Let everyone see, she said. It's time for the family reunion to begin. The ancient library continued its broadcast as Confederation ships descended, too late to stop the awakening of humanity's forgotten legacy. The children had come home, ready or not. Amanda never expected to trigger an interstellar incident by pressing a simple button. The ancient console in the Pacific facility had lit up beneath her palm, its surface warming as it recognized her DNA. What happened next shook the galaxy. My God, Lisa whispered, staring at the holographic displays surrounding them. Across the galaxy, dormant systems were awakening. The quantum-entangled network humanity had built eons ago still functioned perfectly. Confederation fleet approaching. Captain Morrison reported from his jury-rigged command station. 7 capital ships. They're charging weapons. Amanda watched the tactical display with surprising calm. No, they're not. On cue, the Confederation vessels' weapons systems went dark. Their engines followed suit, leaving them drifting helplessly above the facility. Through the facility's communications array, they could hear the panic in the alien commanders' voices. Nothing responds to our commands. Engineering reports all systems are locked out. By the first ones, what is happening? A new hologram materialized in the center of the chamber, a complete strategic display of the galaxy. Countless points of light began pulsing in sync. Defense platforms, terraforming stations, hyperspace gates, all of them responding to human commands. Dr. Brooks. Michael's voice came through their secure channel from Colorado. Are you seeing this? Every piece of ancient Confederation technology is accepting DNA-locked override commands. Even their ships, they're all based on our designs. The Guardian Protocol, Amanda read from a scrolling display. A failsafe, in case the children developed too quickly or turned against each other. Lisa pointed to a series of activating systems. Those are the Zixathulians' most sacred sites. Their temples, their governmental centers, they're all built on top of our old infrastructure. The facility shuddered as a massive transmission burst from its arrays. Across human space, similar facilities were awakening, sharing data that had been dormant for millions of years. The complete technical archives of human civilization, preserved and waiting. Amanda. Lickstree's voice joined the channel. The behavioral coding in my species' DNA. It's not just for peacekeeping. We were designed to recognize and respond to human authority in a crisis. A genetic failsafe. Which explains why your people were given leadership positions in the Confederation. Amanda finished. You were meant to guide the younger races until we woke up. The tactical display shifted, showing a Confederation battle fleet approaching Earth. Leading them was the Zixathulian Grand Assembly's flagship, notorious for its planet-killing capabilities. They're here to stop the transmission, Captain Morrison said. To keep their people from learning the truth. Amanda accessed another set of controls, and the ancient defense grid hummed to life. But instead of targeting the approaching fleet, it began broadcasting on all frequencies. The image of humanity's ancestor appeared again, this time transmitted to every screen and holographic display in Confederation space. To our children among the stars, the message began, we owe you an explanation. We were not gods or demons, but your creators, your guardians, your older siblings. We chose to forget, to walk among you as equals, because we learned the hardest lesson any species can learn. The Confederation fleet arrived, weapons armed. But as the message played, showing evidence of humanity's role in uplifting each species, carefully engineering them for survival on their worlds, protecting them through their early development, their attacks faltered. "Stand down," Amanda transmitted to the fleet. "You've inherited our stubbornness, but also our wisdom. Look at your own records, your sacred texts. You'll find the truth was never completely hidden. We left you breadcrumbs, waiting until you were ready to understand." One by one, the Confederation ships powered down their weapons, all except the Zitexthulian flagship, which pressed forward alone. Some truths, the ship's commander transmitted, should remain buried. The flagship's main weapon powered up, targeting the facility. But before anyone could react, its systems locked down, commanded not by Amanda or the facility, but by its own crew. "No," came Lickstree's voice, broadcasted from the flagship's bridge. "We were made to protect, to guide, to preserve. It's written in our very genes. And now, we choose to honor that purpose." The ancient facility continued its broadcast as Confederation ships hung motionless in orbit, their crews watching humanity's story unfold, the story of their own creation and the heavy burden of knowledge that came with it. The children were finally learning their true heritage, whether they were ready or not. In the heart of Antarctica, beneath 3 miles of ice, Amanda stood before a wall of cryogenic pods. Each contained a perfectly preserved human from that final generation, the ones who chose to forget. Not dead, but waiting, suspended between heartbeats for millions of years. "They're all intact," Michael said, checking readings on his tablet. Perfect preservation. The power systems never even flickered. The facility had activated after the Pacific broadcast, its location transmitted through the ancient network. Getting here had required evading both Confederation forces and Earth governments, but Lickstree's help had proven invaluable. The young Zixithulian stood nearby, her crystalline form reflecting the soft blue light of the stasis chambers. "This one's different," Amanda said, stopping before a pod marked Archive Keeper. Unlike the others, its occupant wasn't in stasis. The woman inside was dead, her body preserved as a final record. On her lap sat a quantum storage device, still clutched in frozen hands. "Are you sure about this?" Captain Morrison asked from his position by the door. "Some secrets might be better left." "They left this for us to find," Amanda interrupted, reaching for the device. "They wanted us to understand." The moment she touched it, the device activated, the chamber filled with holographic images. Earth as it was millions of years ago. A thriving civilization, far more advanced than humanity's current level. Cities that touched the stars, ships that could fold space, energy that could be drawn from the quantum fabric of reality itself. Then came the warning. "We detected them 3 years before they arrived." A voice narrated as images of strange, geometric ships appeared. "They came from between the galaxies, drawn by our power signature. We thought we were ready. We were wrong." The hologram showed the battle, humanity's mighty fleets against the geometric invaders. But the enemy had weapons that didn't just destroy bodies. They corrupted spacetime itself. "They weren't just trying to kill us," the voice continued. "They were trying to erase us from existence, to rewrite the fundamental laws of our universe with their own. We realized too late that they weren't invaders. They were an infection from another reality, spreading across the cosmos like a cancer." "The Void Plague," Lickstree whispered. "There are legends, myths about entities that eat space itself." "Not myths," Amanda said quietly. "A warning, passed down through cultural memory." The hologram shifted to show humanity's desperate counterattack. They had developed weapons that could match the invaders, but using them began to change them. The power to rewrite reality. It corrupts. We began to think like them, to become like them. We saw younger species as resources, raw material to be used in our war. We were becoming the very thing we fought against. Michael pointed to readings on his tablet. The genetic markers we left in all spacefaring species, they're not just recognition patterns. They're inoculations, vaccines against whatever these things did to spacetime. The final images showed humanity's last council. The choice they made. Instead of continuing to fight and risk becoming like the enemy, they would seed the galaxy with protected species, hide their technology, where it could be found when needed, and then. We chose to forget, the voice said, to start over, to grow up again alongside our children, learning wisdom instead of just acquiring power. The Xixthulians would guard, the Vrek would build, the Holoforms would explore, each species engineered with specific gifts, all designed to work together when the enemy returns. When? Amanda asked sharply. Not if. The hologram showed a final set of calculations. Based on the enemy's observed patterns of movement between galaxies, their return could be predicted. The numbers aligned with current stellar positions, forming a date. 3 months, Michael whispered. They're coming back in 3 months. The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of ancient machinery. In the stasis pods, the last generation of original humanity slept on, waiting for the moment they would be needed again. Now you know, the voice concluded, why we chose to forget. Why we had to learn wisdom before reclaiming power. The enemy is returning, and this time, we must all face them together, not as gods and subjects, but as family. Amanda looked at the sleeping figures, then at her tablet showing the growing chaos in the Confederation as the truth spread. 3 months, she said, to unite a galaxy that's about to tear itself apart. The ancient facility hummed around them, ready to wake the sleepers. The real test of humanity's choice was about to begin. The New York Emergency Summit was chaos. 3 weeks after the Antarctic revelation, representatives from every Confederation species crowded the UN chamber, their voices raised in a cacophony of anger, fear, and disbelief. Above them, through the reinforced glass ceiling, defense platforms from a dozen species hung in orbit, some pointing at Earth, others defending it. Amanda stood at the podium, Michael and Lickstree flanking her. On the main display behind them, a countdown ticker marked 2 months and 6 days until the predicted arrival. The Xixthulian Grand Assembly demands control of the defense protocols. High Commander Zixtel's crystalline form pulsed with aggressive patterns. We were created to be guardians. Guardians, not rulers. Lickstree countered, her younger voice carrying unexpected authority. The genetic coding you'd use to seize control. It was designed to prevent exactly that kind of power grab. The chamber erupted again until Captain Morrison, now serving as security chief, activated the sonic dampeners. In the sudden silence, Amanda spoke. While we argue, the void plague approaches. Our ancestors faced this choice, ultimate power or ultimate wisdom. They chose wisdom. What will we choose? The main doors opened, admitting Dr. Jessica Torres. She'd been overseeing the awakening of the first stasis pods. Behind her walked a woman who made the entire chamber fall silent. Helen Carter, the last president of ancient humanity. Your descendants have done well, Helen said, her voice showing no sign of her millions of years in stasis. But they're repeating our mistakes, already reaching for power instead of understanding. Zixtel's surface darkened. Understanding. Your people created us as weapons, tools. No, Helen replied softly. We created you as children, each species designed to express different aspects of consciousness, different approaches to existence. Together, you're stronger than we ever were alone. The display behind them shifted to show the approaching threat. Void black geometric shapes moving between galaxies, consuming reality itself. We could have fought them, Helen continued, could have become like them, transcended physical form to rewrite reality itself. But the price, she gestured to the assembled aliens, the price would have been you, all of you, never existing, never having the chance to grow, to learn, to become yourselves. Pretty words, Zixtal sneered. But you still hid the truth, manipulated us all. A new figure entered the chamber, another awakened ancient, this one wearing a military uniform, General Marcus Chen, the architect of humanity's original defense network. We hid nothing, he said. Every species' religious texts, creation myths, scientific principles, we embedded the truth in all of them, waiting for you to grow wise enough to understand it, to see past power to purpose. The display shifted again, showing the full extent of humanity's ancient defense grid, not just weapons, but reality stabilizers, dimensional anchors, psych-tech mimetic shields, a complete system designed to protect existence itself. The network needs all species to function, Amanda explained. Each of you has a crucial role. The Zixathulian's crystalline nature can channel dimensional energies. The Vrek's hive mind can process complex battle calculations. The haloforms can exist in multiple states of reality simultaneously. Humanity. Humanity holds it all together, Helen finished. Not because we're superior, but because we chose to step back, to learn alongside you instead of ruling over you. Suddenly, the defense platforms above fired in unison, not at each other or Earth, but at a point in space where reality itself seemed to bend. A probe of the Void Plague, arriving early. The assembled species watched as their combined technologies, guided by the ancient network, erased the threat, working together without even realizing it. 2 months, Amanda announced into the stunned silence. 2 months to prepare, to unite, to remember what we were all created to be. Not masters and servants, not rulers and subjects, but family. She looked at Zixtal, seeing the conflict in his crystalline patterns. Your genetic programming doesn't force you to obey us. It reminds you of your purpose, to protect, to guide, to serve life itself, just as our choice to forget served a greater purpose. The chamber remained silent as the defense platforms realigned, their combined power a testament to what unity could achieve. The real war hadn't even begun, but the first battle, the battle for understanding, was finally being won. The final battle wasn't fought with weapons alone. As the Void Plague's geometric ships breached the galaxy's edge, humanity's greatest victory came not from ancient technology, but from the wisdom earned through their long sleep. Amanda stood in the Antarctic facility's central command, surrounded by representatives from every spacefaring race. Helen Carter and General Chen coordinated with the combined fleet, while Michael and Lixtree managed the reality stabilization grid that protected their universe's physical laws. First wave approaching, Captain Morrison reported from the lead defense platform, reading spatial distortions consistent with the historical records. The enemy ships were beautiful in their alienness, perfect geometric shapes that seemed to exist in more dimensions than space allowed. Where they passed, reality wavered like heat over hot pavement. All species, execute synchronized defense pattern, Helen ordered, just as we practiced. The response was magnificent. Zixathulian crystal ships channeled dimensional energy through their lattices, creating stable corridors of spacetime. Vrek hive minds processed battle calculations at impossible speeds, coordinating the movements of thousands of ships. Haloform vessels shifted between states of reality, predicting and countering the enemy's attempts to rewrite local physics. And humanity, both ancient and modern, held it all together. Their genetic connection to every species allowed them to serve as living conductors, synchronizing the combined defense into something greater than its parts. They're adapting, General Chen warned as the geometric ships shifted tactics, just like before. But this time was different. Where the ancient humans had fought alone, tried to match power with power, their children fought together. Each species' unique gifts complemented the others, creating a defense that was both mighty and wise. Look, Michael pointed to the tactical display. They're not just trying to destroy reality. They're trying to infect it, change its fundamental nature to match theirs, which is why we created you all differently, Helen explained, her voice carrying to all ships. Not just physically, but philosophically. Each species represents a different way of perceiving and interacting with reality. Together, you strengthen the very fabric of space-time. The Void Plague pressed its attack, but for every physical assault, there was a species designed to counter it. For every attempt to corrupt reality, there were minds engineered to reinforce it. The enemy's power met not just resistance, but understanding. "They're pulling back," Lixtree announced, her crystalline form pulsing with excitement. "The combined defense is actually forcing them to retreat." Amanda watched as the geometric ships began to withdraw. Not destroyed. They couldn't be destroyed without risking reality itself, but repelled by the united strength of all sapient life in the galaxy. Not retreat, Amanda realized, seeing the patterns. They're recognizing us as equals, as another solution to existence. The final communication from the Void Plague came not in words or data, but in a fundamental shift in the universe's underlying mathematics. Where there had been conflict between realities, there was now compatibility. "They're not leaving," Helen said softly. "They're accepting our reality as valid. Different, but valid. Just as we learn to accept our differences." The geometric ships transformed, their perfect shapes becoming something new. A bridge between realities rather than an invasion force. The threat of cosmic war transformed into an opportunity for cosmic understanding. Hours later, in the facility's observation dome, Amanda stood with Helen, watching the combined fleet begin its journey home. Each species had grown through the crisis, found strength not in power over others, but in cooperation with them. "Was this your plan all along?" Amanda asked her ancestor. "To force us all to grow up together, to face this threat as equals." Helen smiled. "We hoped. Power without wisdom destroys. But wisdom builds families." Above them, Confederation ships flew in formation with human vessels, their crews forever changed by the knowledge of their shared heritage. The Void Plague's ships remained at the galaxy's edge, not as invaders, but as a reminder that understanding was always stronger than force. "What now?" Lixtree asked, joining them. Amanda looked at the stars, seeing not different species territories, but one united family of consciousness, ready to explore both their reality and others. "Now," she said, "we all grow up together. Not as creators and created, but as siblings among the stars." The ancient facility hummed peacefully around them, its purpose fulfilled. Humanity had chosen to forget so they could remember something far more important. That true power lies not in dominion over others, but in the wisdom to recognize all life as family. The longest sleep was over. The greatest adventure was just beginning.